Coffee and tea are both extremely healthful drinks. Caffeine is a stimulant that can improve your mood, metabolism, and mental and physical performance. It's also safe for most people when ingested in low to moderate amounts, according to studies. High dosages of caffeine, on the other hand, can have unpleasant and even deadly adverse effects. According to research, your genes play a significant role in your tolerance to it. Some people can eat a lot more coffee than others without getting sick. Furthermore, folks who aren't acclimated to caffeine may experience negative effects even after eating a low dosage. Insomnia. One of caffeine's most valued characteristics is its ability to keep people awake. Caffeine, on the other hand, can make it harder to achieve adequate restorative sleep. Caffeine use appears to lengthen the time it takes to fall asleep, according to studies. It may also cut down on total sleep time, particularly in the elderly. Low to moderate doses of caffeine don't appear to have much of an effect on sleep in persons who are considered excellent sleepers or even those who have self-reported insomnia. If you underestimate the amount of caffeine you consume, you might not notice that it is interfering with your sleep. Caffeine is present in soda, cocoa, energy drinks, and a variety of medications, while coffee and tea are the most potent sources. An energy shot, for example, can have up to 350 milligrams of caffeine, while other energy beverages can include up to 500 milligrams. Importantly, the amount of caffeine you may ingest without disrupting your sleep is determined by your genetics as well as other variables. Caffeine ingested later in the day may disrupt sleep because its effects can take several hours to wear off. According to studies, caffeine stays in your system for an average of 5 hours, but it can last anywhere from 1.5 to 9 hours. One study looked into the effects of caffeine consumption on sleep. 12 healthy people were given 400 milligrams of caffeine 6 hours before bedtime, 3 hours before bedtime, or right before bedtime. The amount of time it took all three groups to fall asleep, as well as the amount of time they spent awake at night, increased dramatically. These findings show that, if you want to get the most out of your sleep, you should pay attention to the amount and timing of caffeine you consume. Caffeine can help you stay awake during the day, but it may negatively impact your sleep quality and quantity. Cut off your caffeine consumption by the early afternoon to avoid sleeping problems. Muscle breakdown. Rhabdomyolysis is a potentially fatal disorder in which injured muscle fibers enter the bloodstream, causing renal failure and other complications. Trauma, infection, substance misuse, muscle tension, and bites from deadly snakes or insects are all common causes of rhabdomyolysis. There have also been a few instances of rhabdomyolysis linked to high caffeine consumption, although this is a rare occurrence. After drinking 32 ounces of coffee containing around 565 milligrams of caffeine, a woman got nausea, vomiting, and black urine. Thankfully, she recovered after receiving medication and drinks. Importantly, this is a large amount of caffeine to eat in such a short amount of time, especially for someone who isn't used to it or is sensitive to its effects. Unless you're used to ingesting more caffeine, it's advised to keep your caffeine intake to around 250 milligrams per day to avoid rhabdomyolysis. High blood pressure. Caffeine does not appear to raise the risk of heart disease or stroke in the majority of persons. However, because of its stimulating effect on the neurological system, it has been found in multiple trials to elevate blood pressure. Because high blood pressure can damage arteries over time, reducing blood flow to the heart and brain, it's a risk factor for heart attack and stroke. Fortunately, the effect of caffeine on blood pressure appears to be transient. It also appears to have the greatest effect on those who aren't accustomed to taking it. Caffeine consumption has also been demonstrated to raise blood pressure during exercise in both healthy and mildly hypertensive individuals. Caffeine intake and timing must be carefully monitored, especially if you already have high blood pressure. Fatigue. Caffeinated liquids such as coffee, tea, and other caffeinated beverages are proven to increase energy levels. They can, however, have the reverse effect, causing rebound fatigue once the caffeine has left your system. Although caffeinated energy drinks increased alertness, and improved mood for several hours. Participants were generally more exhausted than usual the next day, according to a study of 41 trials. Of course, you can avoid the rebound effect if you continue to consume large amounts of coffee throughout the day. However, this may interfere with your ability to sleep. Caffeine should be consumed in moderate, rather than large dosages, to maximize its energy effects and avoid rebound weariness. Anxiety. Caffeine has been shown to boost attentiveness. It works by inhibiting the effects of adenosine, a neurotransmitter in the brain that causes fatigue. At the same time, it causes adrenaline, the fight-or-flight hormone linked to greater energy, to be released. These effects may become more prominent with increasing doses, resulting in uneasiness and nervousness. In fact, caffeine-induced anxiety disorder is one of 4 caffeine-related disorders. Most people experience uneasiness, jitteriness, and other comparable symptoms when they consume 1,000 milligrams or more per day, but caffeine-sensitive persons may experience similar effects even with a small dose. In addition, when ingested in one sitting, small amounts have been observed to produce fast breathing and elevate stress levels. In one study of 25 healthy males, those who consumed around 300 milligrams of caffeine had more than double the stress levels as those who took a placebo. Interestingly, stress levels were identical among regular and seldom caffeine drinkers, implying that the chemical has the same effect on stress levels whether you drink it often or not. Nonetheless, these are tentative findings. Caffeine concentration in coffee varies greatly. For comparison, a large Starbucks coffee contains approximately 330 milligrams of caffeine. If you find yourself feeling nervous or jittery frequently, you might consider reducing your caffeine intake. Digestive issue. Many people find that a cup of coffee in the morning helps them move their bowels. The release of gastrin, a hormone produced by the stomach that speeds up colon action, is thought to be responsible for coffee's laxative effect. Additionally, decaffeinated coffee has been proven to have a similar effect. Caffeine, on the other hand, appears to increase bowel motions by enhancing peristalsis, or the contractions that transport food through the digestive system. It's hardly surprising then that high dosages of caffeine can cause loose stools or even diarrhea in some people. Despite the fact that coffee was once thought to induce stomach ulcers, a comprehensive research of over 8,000 people found no link between the two. Caffeinated beverages, on the other hand, have been linked to the worsening of gastroesophageal reflux disease in some patients, according to some research. This appears to be particularly true in the case of coffee. 5 healthy adults drank caffeinated water in a brief research and noticed a relaxation of the muscle that prevents stomach contents from going up into the neck. If you're having problems with your digestion, you might want to reduce your coffee intake or switch to tea. Addiction. Despite all of caffeine's health benefits, it's impossible to ignore that it has the potential to become addictive. According to a comprehensive assessment, while coffee stimulates specific brain chemicals in the same way that cocaine and amphetamines do, it does not produce the same type of addiction. However, especially at high doses, it can cause psychological or physical dependence. In one study, 16 persons who normally ingested high, moderate, or no caffeine did a word test after going caffeine-free for an overnight period. Only those who consumed a lot of caffeine displayed a predilection towards caffeine-related terms and had a lot of caffeine cravings. Caffeine consumption frequency also appears to play a role in reliance. In another study, 213 caffeine drinkers filled out questionnaires after going 16 hours without it. Headaches, lethargy, and other withdrawal symptoms were more common among daily users than in non-daily users. Even though the molecule doesn't appear to create actual addiction, if you consume a lot of coffee or other caffeinated beverages on a regular basis, you're highly likely to become addicted to its effects. Rapid heart rate. Caffeine has stimulant properties, which can cause your heart to beat quicker. It may also cause atrial fibrillation, a type of irregular heartbeat that has been recorded in young people who have drank energy drinks with exceptionally high caffeine levels. In one case study, a lady who attempted suicide by taking a large dosage of caffeine powder and pills got an extremely fast heart rate, kidney failure, and other major health problems. Even some persons with cardiac problems may be able to take huge doses of caffeine. without experiencing any negative side effects. The heart rates and rhythms of 51 heart failure patients remained normal after they ingested 100 milligrams of coffee per hour for 5 hours in a controlled research. Regardless of the mixed study results, if you observe any changes in your heart rate or rhythm after drinking caffeinated beverages, cut back. Frequent urination and urgency. Caffeine's stimulatory actions on the bladder cause increased urination, which is a common adverse effect of heavy caffeine use. You may have observed that, when you consume more coffee or tea than normal, you need to urinate more frequently. The majority of study on the compound's effects on urine frequency has been conducted on the elderly and individuals with hyperactive bladders or incontinence. 12 young to middle-aged persons with hyperactive bladders who drank 2 milligrams of caffeine per pound of body weight daily showed significant increases in urine frequency and urgency. This equates to around 300 milligrams of caffeine per day for someone weighing 150 pounds. In addition, in persons with healthy bladders, increased intake may raise the risk of developing incontinence. More than 65,000 women without incontinence participated in a big study that looked at the impact of increased coffee intake on incontinence. When compared to individuals who ingested less than 150 milligrams per day, those who took more than 450 milligrams per day had a considerably higher risk of incontinence. If you consume a lot of caffeinated beverages and notice that your urination is more frequent or urgent than it should be, cutting back on your intake to see if your symptoms improve. In many persons, light to moderate caffeine consumption appears to have significant health benefits. On the other hand, very high doses might induce unpleasant side effects that can make daily life difficult, as well as major health problems. Although reactions differ from person to person, the consequences of high intake show that more isn't always better. To get the benefits of caffeine without the drawbacks, evaluate your sleep, energy levels, and other elements that may be impacted, and lower your intake if necessary. Please consider subscribing and hit the notification bell for the next video. Thank you for watching.